Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I am Evan Irwin. We get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTGNerdGirl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Reuben Bressler.
Hey, long time no see.
Now officially on the sides once more. We fixed that.
I've felt so weird. I felt out of place. The universe was out of balance.
Absolutely. And if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early, as well as our Patreon supporters at the $5 plus level. And with that, we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But sub first to get 2 chances to win and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. And that is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. It is time for the Brothers War. We have gotten the Brothers War spoilers. We've basically gotten the set at this point. There might be a few little tiny things left. There might be one random rare that shows up on the reveal of the full preview tomorrow when they post that stuff. But ultimately, we have the commander decks. We have most of the rares and mythics at this point, and we see a lot of what the set is trying to do. And I got to tell you, it feels like whatever punches they pulled with Dominaria United, they just went all out in the Brothers War. I love the look of this set. I think it looks absolutely incredible. I haven't seen anything like it since Rise of the Eldrazi, where you're able to have these giant hulking things. But here's the thing. Here's what's even better is because thanks to stuff like the prototype mechanic and all the power stones, you can really work and manipulate and not just have 8 mana 8/8s at common. No. You can have 8 mana 8/8s at common, but their prototype allows you to play them on turn 3 so you don't just get stuck with them in your hand and you die. And all of these giant, oh my god, it's 7 mana to draw 2 cards on a creature. You know how quickly you're going to get to 7 mana if like every damn thing you do makes a power stone? You're going to get there really quickly. And I am super excited because this feels like an entire environment that we've just not gotten anywhere close to since like Affinity. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like it totally changes how you look at the cards, how you play the cards, and how all the different pieces interact with that environment. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the set looks very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've not had enough of a chance to dig in and get my teeth on the set mechanics and the draft archetypes and what I think of it. I do like that they went in a very, like the board game Scythe, they went in a very specific direction with Brothers War in their flavor, where it's not just mechs. They're not going full Transformers. It's like a sort of wistful old mechs, which fits it, right? We get it. I think that Wizards does a very good job of taking the flavor that they have, but then like changing the motif, right? They did this with Ravnica, with Return to Ravnica, or no, sorry. Guilds of Ravnica, when they added the noir element, right? They changed it from like this summer flowery to fall, kind of late fall mysterious vibe. They did something very similar with Kamigawa, where they were like, we had Kamigawa, but now we've got neon Kamigawa, right? Like, and this is very similar where you've got Dominaria. This is a place that we all know. The Brothers War is like the foundational event of a lot of early Magic. And yet we have something kind of brand new. We have these war engines coming to life in a way that is not only not anachronistic, but feels like it was here the whole time.
The idea that this is the real story of the Brothers War and that the books that we read and the stuff we've seen previously is like echoes and written by the winners and how history works and stuff like that. Nerdgirl, how do you feel about the set at this point?
I actually don't know anything really about Brothers War originally. It was a little bit before my time. And I'm also not like a lore buff. So yeah, I get whatever I get within the set. And people tell me, oh, this card is lore XYZ. And I'm like, oh, it's a neat little tidbit. I will maybe remember that. And that's sort of my relationship with lore. And I also don't tend to like major artifact sets. I don't find them to be my thing personally. So I'm scrolling through the sets and it looks cool, but I'm definitely not as hyped for it as I am for other sets that speak to me personally. Like, I like the Eldraine fantasy stuff more, even though constructed it was a mess, I know. But yeah, big robots, and I don't have any sort of tie to the Mishra Urza battle. Mm-hmm. I don't find that super exciting because that's just not me. But I can definitely see where everybody else is very excited for it.
Well, there you go. So as we do, we're going to go over 3 cards that we picked out to talk about. And I'll go ahead and get started because there's plenty to go over. The first one I wanted to talk about specifically is Clay Champion. This is the second of 2 mythic rares that care about how much colored mana that you put into it. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. First of all, it's brilliant in that this uses power stones without using power stones, which is another thing I think is awesome. But also rewards you for using colored mana of different types in really different ways. Clay Champion is a 4 generic mana and X generic mana 2/2 mythic artifact creature construct, and it enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each green spent to cast it. And when it enters the battlefield, you choose up to 2 other target creatures you control for each white spent to cast Clay Champion. You put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. It goes big. If it's mono green, that's an 8/8 for 4 mana, which is bananas. And for white, it goes wide, so it goes up, it goes across, it goes, it goes julienne fries. This thing is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, this is going to be very good in limited and constructed. I can't imagine that this isn't going to see some play in some monocolored decks for sure in constructed.
Yeah, this and its Grixis sort of counterpart, I'll call it Blade Coil Serpent, are both just spectacular value. I like that they have X in the cost, so that if you have a bunch of extra mana, you can just go nuts. Yeah, exactly. This is a way to spend all of your infinite mana with whatever 3-4 card combos you have. And like you said, it's a good way to use the Power Stone mana without using that Power Stone mana. So, you might not always have, green, like 4 green, but you'll certainly have 2 green and then a Power Stone laying around or 2, something like that. So I think that this is a great card.
Yeah, this card was, and then this one came out first before the Grixis one came out, and it just blew my mind because, like, whoa, we are looking and thinking about mana and artifact creatures in very, very different and unique ways, and that's what I think is brilliant. The next card I want to talk about here was Soul Partition. Soul Partition, I believe, will help enter us into a better world of Magic: The Gathering. This, to me, seriously feels a whole lot like Oblivion Ring. We waited so long to get Oblivion Ring to realize that what's the key to white? The key to white is to stop things, but you can still answer it and get your stuff back, but it has to go away for a minute. And look at this. Soul Partition is a white and a generic mana for a rare instant that says exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. A spell cast by an opponent this way costs 2 generic mana more to cast. So that is amazing. And so not only can it save your own stuff, which is cool. That's great. You don't have to pay more for it. Awesome. I don't care. This to me is about finding the white counterspell. They found the white counterspell. It taxes the spell. It doesn't stop it forever. It just makes it more expensive. And so if this could target a permanent spell, I think it would be absolutely perfect. I don't care, target an opponent's spell. I don't care about my own stuff. I'm talking about this is a white counterspell to stop other decks from doing what they want. And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I like it anytime white gets some new toys to play with.
And, it's not mana tithe. It doesn't counter the spell. It just stops it. Just for a little while. Slows it down.
It puts it in some sand, right? It makes it, very much like Elite Spellbinder with that 2 extra tax. I think that this effect, you're right, is a paradigm shift for white, and I hope that we get more stuff like this.
Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant to see. Again, does that play bad? I don't know, but I certainly tagged my wizard friends and was like, hey guys, just so you know, I think this is brilliant. And maybe they already know that and have ran away with it, but I love it. Last one here I want to talk about is Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. This card is freaking bananas. And if you don't believe me, Shouldred says, what's up? Gix Yawgmoth Praetor is 2 black and a generic mana for a mythic 3/3 legendary Phyrexian Praetor that says whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. And if they do, they draw a card. For 3 black and 4 generic mana, and you discard X cards. This happens at instant speed. 7 mana, discard X cards, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play lands and cast spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Listen, y'all. One of the best cards printed in the last year was called Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And that guy makes mana, and he makes a lot of mana, and Invoke Despair draws you cards while answering their permanents. And I'm telling you, getting to 7 mana and just dumping your stuff and playing a bunch of free spells, I don't think is out of the question. I really don't. I think this is amazing for Commander, but I really don't think this is out of the realm of Constructed.
Oh, 100%. This card's insane.
Card scares the hell out of me.
Mono black is already very good.
Yes.
You know, I've not been shy about thinking that Liliana's not great. I think that this fits better into the Shale Dread shell than Liliana does, unless you're like focusing on things like the Raven Man and more discard. You know, this immediately gets value with your 2-drop Tenacious Underdog.
Right, Tenacious Underdog, swing, pay a life. Let's go.
Continues to get value once you play Shale Dread on turn 4. That's a scary curve. And that Villainous Wealth effect at the end is just gravy on top. I love this thing.
Yeah, Power Stones also possibly make a lot of extra mana that you don't need. Also, you know, you guys said everything there is to say about the card, I think, but that art is dope. It's one of my favorite arts in the set, I think.
Oh, it's
pretty
gorgeous.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, this card came out a little bit early in terms of like when they spoiled everything and whatnot, but it was definitely meant to be one of the exciting cards that gets people, you know, hyped. And it definitely got me hyped because, damn, the mono black deck is already real. And the way this curves out with Tenacious Underdog is fantastic. And I'm excited to play with it. All right. So, Reuben, let's talk about your 3. What you got up first?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is just the most obvious thing if you read the cards, and I'm not sure we've had time to digest the whole set yet, but it is going to be painfully obvious to anyone who plays a constructed format, standard and limited, basically anything in the near future, that Obliterating Bolt is the barometer. That's the line where things are playable, right? This is a better Lava Coil, and Lava Coil was a 4 of in standard for a long time. Obliterating Bolt is a generic and a red for an uncommon that says it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. So we get Lava Coil, but that can target planeswalkers. That's insane.
Yeah, that was definitely a good card. I mean, I still have a handful of them lying about because it was surprisingly a very good card at only uncommon, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this sees some constructed play for sure.
I think it would. And trust me, I love me a Lava Coil, and I think it's great. It's going to answer Tenacious Underdogs, and it's going to kill Gixes, and it's going to do all sorts of cool stuff. It doesn't kill Shouldered, but not everything kills Shouldered, and that's okay too.
It's 2 mana. Like,
it's 2 mana.
It's
so
fine.
Rending Flame is...
It's going to kill a ticked up Liliana, though.
There you go. It kills a ticked up Liliana at 2 mana. I will take that. And again, Lava Coil just could just hit creatures, and this hits creatures and planeswalkers. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Easiest home run of the set. This will, pick up your foil copies, pick up your whatever you need.
What else you got?
Speaking of 2-drops that are insane, I used to play Nantuko Shade in Standard, and I was happy. I was happy with Nantuko Shade, which was a 2/1 for black that said pay a black, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. And that was insane, and we liked it.
It's great.
And now we have Misery's Shadow, which is a pure upgrade in every sense of the word.
It's true.
Misery's Shadow is a generic and a black for a 2/2 that says pay a colorless, it gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. And if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. That is so much value on one card. This gives me vibes of like Scavenging Ooze. I know they're very different cards, but sort of like the 2/2 that just does everything, right? A little bit of hate, a little bit of size, easy to splash. Like, this card does it all.
I mean, I lived with Nantuko Shade. I got the paces in with my cube. I didn't get to play it in standard, but I got to play a lot of it in cube. And I also got to see how it kind of got passed along the way of, just more efficient creatures with better abilities, better static abilities. And as we've kind of seen these iterations of good creatures from the past, they get easier to play, they get more powerful, they get, easier to slot in any deck you want them in, versus like this has to be in mono black versus like this could be in a black deck. You can splash for it if you need to, or you can put it in sideboard to be all right, because you're always gonna be able to pump it.
Yeah.
I like how the between this and the Red Saga that exiles things when they get killed, kind of is hopefully going to help with some of the rat problem that we have, because then it at least kills Can't Stop Eating, or whatever that card is called. I'm terrible at this game.
What's the spell do?
Eating. The rat problem.
The rat problem. The boss from our D&D game.
Oh, Greasefang.
Greasefang.
Yeah.
And then there's the Can't Stop Eating card that brings it back. But that won't be a problem if it's exiled. Sorry, I'm terrible with the card name game.
Can't stay away.
Well, there's
It's a cat eating, right?
Right. There's a 1 black mana spell in the set that looks at the opponent's hand and exiles a creature and also exiles an artifact from their graveyard. And it's like literally like if Greasefang Hate could have a card made, this is Greasefang Hate. I've never seen it so clear.
Which is good because Greasefang also got Diabolic Intent, so they are going better.
Whew, Diabolic Intent is hella tasty. But anyway, what's your third?
Of note for Misery's Shadow. It says opponent controls would die, so you can actually play it in your own Greasefang deck if you want one.
Of course you can. The mirror
my last card, I love this art so much that I might have just talked about this card irrespective of its text box. The fact that it's also very good helps. Its name is adorable. Its picture is adorable. Immediately top 10 cutest cards I've ever seen. Next card is Teething Wurmlet. It's so cute. Teething Wurmlet is a 1/1 for a green, and it has Death Touch as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Wizards, can we just get Metalcraft?
Metalcraft. How long do we have to beg for landfall? Yeah. Like, come on.
Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Teething Wurmlet. This is going to be attacking early and often for a lot. There are a couple of flash artifacts in this set as well. The Goblin Bomb thing, I think, is a 1 mana flash artifact that's going to pump this up and would be very easy to take advantage of. Not to mention the fact that there are, just good 2-drop artifacts in the set that you kind of just want to be playing, and this thing grows right alongside them.
Well, as far as the limited stuff goes, I mean, the archetype for green-blue and any of the other green ones is Power Stones.
Yeah.
So those are going to count and trigger most of this as well.
Yep. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, either in the comments or the chat, or if you guys know. From what I was seeing, there is no spell that costs less than 3 mana that makes a Power Stone. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe there's a 2 mana Power Stone maker, which is probably a good thing. I'm just noting.
Yeah, there's no colorless and a green 1/2 that makes a Power Stone. I'm not sure there is.
There might be.
There is one.
There is one. Okay, is that the one that reveals the top cards off your library? If it's a land, you put it in your hand. If you don't, makes a stone or something. Oh, it's a 1 red 2/2. Oh yes, but if you lose the 2/2, you lose the Power Stone.
Power Stone Engineer. When it dies, make a tapped Power Stone token.
I was thinking it was another guy.
And there's also Wreck Hunter.
Right, that's the one you sack it.
Black.
Oh, no, it's not.
Make a Power Stone for each non-land card in that player's graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. So the 2 mana ones, the 2 mana ones are tough to get value out of immediately.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. I like that.
Yeah.
Nerd Girl, what do you want to talk about first?
So I have 3 cards, just like you guys, and I picked ones that I liked, not necessarily ones that I thought were going to be very good and constructed. And I started with the return of a character that I actually really enjoyed playing in Limited a ton. And I also like the aesthetic of this character. And I'm a big fan of Saheeli. If for nothing else, is I kind of like that sort of tempo-y creature kind of deck. So Saheeli Filigree Master is a planeswalker that starts with 3 loyalty for 4 mana, 2 colorless, blue and a red. You can +1 to scry 1, and you may untap an artifact you control. You may tap an untapped artifact you control if you do draw a card. Seems insane. -2, you can create 2 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. They gain haste until the end of turn. And for -4, which doesn't take very long to get to, you get an emblem with artifacts you control, get +1/+1, and artifact spells you control cost 1 less. So kind of does it all, but also doesn't feel incredibly overpowered like some of the Chandras and things that we see in Limited that just kind of end games instantly. She's going to protect herself, but if you're ahead, the little Thopters aren't necessarily going to completely end your game. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is a decent power level for Planeswalkers, but yet still fun and interesting and still quite strong.
You know, if I had my druthers, if my druthers was happening, I feel like I would bump this to 4 loyalty to start and make the second ability -3 and the last ability -5, just to give it a little bit more resilience. But, you know, then again, that also would take it out of that lava coil that we just talked about, the Obliterating Bolt. So, you know, there's definitely reasons the numbers are what the numbers are, and wouldn't it be nice if everything drew a card or whatever. But all in all, I think it's cool, and I like the idea that it's not, you know, it does create blockers and protection for itself, but that first ability is really interesting and unique, and you can have some really cool deck builds around how that works. And I think that's sweet.
Yeah, I have high hopes for this card. I think that when you look at a Planeswalker, at least the rule used to be, can it protect itself?
Right.
And can it generate card advantage? And this does both. The ultimate is nice icing, and it's very easy to get to. It takes 2 turns. I mean, the numbers on this card are exactly the same as the numbers on Garruk Wildspeaker, which saw a ton of play. Now, I know that the abilities are different. Like, that's not what I care
about.
Making
a 3/3 is not making 2 1/1s.
Right.
But they also fly.
It costs 4, comes in with 3 loyalty, has a +1, a -2, and an ultimate of -4. That's all I'm looking at right now. Mm-hmm. Those numbers are very manageable, and the value generated here is very good. Scry 1, draw a card is not nothing. Very easy to just get that on an empty board with some extra, you know, mana rock. I think it's a good card.
All right, what's you got next?
So the next one is sort of a selfish pick because I saw it and I immediately was like, oh, good. I just built an EDH deck that this should go into. So I decided to pick In the Trenches. For a colorless white, we have an enchantment that says creatures you control get +1/+1. I just built Orzhov tokens. Sounds fantastic. And you can pay 6 mana, 5 colorless and a white to exile target non-land permanent you don't control until In the Trenches leaves the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So you just get this like really early nice anthem for your sweet creature token decks. And then late in the game, it just doubles as sort of an O-ring effect. And it does everything I want white to be doing. And it does everything that I want my decks to be doing.
Well, note it can only be used once, the exile ability, but it is very, very, very powerful. This is Glorious Anthem ++. Glorious Anthem on a mythic level, I think largely for Limited, because this thing would be absolutely busted at Rare and Limited. It would just warp everything.
It'd be like that black-white enchantment that flipped into the black-white enchantment that flipped into a land from Ixalan. It would just take over.
Yeah, it was crazy. But ultimately, I think what part of this is saying is that like Glorious Anthem is just not good enough for Constructed. A 3 mana, it pumps your team. That's cool. No other into the battlefield effects. Nothing else to take advantage of it. You know, making Power Stones makes this way cheaper and way easier to activate than it looks, even in weenie decks. And again, once you're in the late game, 6 mana is what you want to be pumped into this to get rid of their dragon, to get rid of their giant monster that's stopping your team. Like, this thing's awesome.
And again, we got them Power Stone tokens laying around. Let's use them. This card's excellent. This card was very close to making my list.
Agree.
In fact, you both had a card that I was thinking about taking. I was close to taking Soul Partition and In the Trenches. And I think mono white just gets a lot of cool toys in this set. So
it does.
In the Trenches is an excellent pick.
All right. What's your last card here?
My last one, I don't know how to say. Is it Gixian Puppeteer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gixian, that's right.
Sweet. So Gixian Puppeteer is a 3 colorless and a black Phyrexian Warlock. It is a 4/3, and it says whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. And then whenever Puppeteer dies, return another target creature card from with 3 CMC or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Mm-hmm. And again, another sort of selfish thing. I like Orzhov a ton. I want to be returning creatures. I want my creatures to be valuable and sacrificing and doing cool stuff. And also each opponent is not lost on me, because that's going to be kind of crazy for EDH games, because you definitely want to be drawing a lot of cards and you definitely want to be draining multiple opponents.
Yeah, there's I think it's called Recommission. It's a white and a generic mana common sorcery that brings back a CMC 3 or less creature to the battlefield, but with a +1/+1 counter on it. And I'm like, what? And this is very similar to that, in that you're getting that value and you're bringing that type of creature back, but also getting that bonus on top of it. And yeah, this card's already pre-ordered for like $4 or $5. Like lots of people like this card immediately.
Yeah.
This is, well, first of all, Phyrexian Warlock is like maybe the best combo of creature types I've seen with Phyrexian so far. I really like it.
It's really good.
The flavor of this card, it has its own vibe. I just think that this is just an excellent, this is one I could see a promo of. Like if this card got popular enough, we could get some like emo, like Panic at the Disco kind of Gixian Puppeteer happening. This is also fits into those aristocrat style decks at a really interesting spot, because you have a lot of good 2-drops, right? Most of your Blood Artists are 2 mana. You have a lot of good 3-drops. Most of your sack outlets or like value engines are at 3 mana. Not a ton of great stuff at 4. And this is like the top end, of your birthing pod curve, right? Where this lets you rebuy those, Midnight Reaper, Woe Strider kind of effects, or in a pinch can bring back your aristocrat style stuff as well.
There you go. So, so those were some cards we wanted to talk about from the Brothers War. The full set is out as of tomorrow, November 4th. And if you pre-order it from CoolStuffInc.com, our awesome sponsor, the order ships next Thursday. That's right, a week from today. So you'll get it a week earlier than everybody else. That means it ships Thursday. You could get it on Friday if you have it overnighted. We can make that stuff happen. That said, we move on to our first pick to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And it's Magic 30 time. Y'all got to go to Magic 30. I was not able to make it, and I certainly missed all the fun times everyone was clearly having. And that sucks, but I'm glad y'all had a fantastic time from all reports. And Nerd Girl, you want to kick us off? How was your event?
My event was fun. I mostly played in like the actual events. I didn't do a ton of Commander, but I definitely, a good chunk of my group spent most of the time just playing Commander in their groups.
Sure.
But yeah, the side events, they were kind of messy, but the team did their best to make it right, gave some extra tokens. They gave a buy when things were running too late, which, is nice that they helped you get to your next event, especially because you had to pre-register for everything. But ultimately, we came to play Magic, but I think it was the best fix that they could do. Prize wall was a little underwhelming, but for the most part, I think it was good.
Reuben, how was your experience?
I was the opposite. I did no events. I did all Commander. I had a Ruby pass.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of course I did. I liked what I had. I liked the event. Irrespective of value, it's probably the best Magic event I've been to, irrespective of value. In terms of money spent, it was the most expensive Magic event I've ever been to.
Woof.
The Ruby Pass was incredibly expensive, prohibitively so. The merch was not offensively expensive, but it was another factor.
Very expensive, though.
Yeah. And, but, in terms of just how I felt after it, I felt different. I felt better than I do after most Magic events I've been to. Because I'm used to going to Magic events where you play Magic. And if you play Magic, you're going there expecting to lose a lot, right? This Magic is a lot of things. It is not a happy game while you're playing it. It is a intense game while you're playing it that gives you serotonin and endorphins as a result of playing well, right? But it is not happy-go-lucky. This event had big Comic-Con vibes, right? It felt good. It looked good. People were excited to be there. New people. It wasn't just all grinders. It was a different kind of event. And for all of the things that they didn't do right, of which there were many, at least they can learn from them. Right? Like everything that was a mistake or was something that was, shouldn't have been taken out of the oven quite so quickly, is easy to spot. And I think that the future Magic Fests are going to improve on it. Now,
did you guys get to see the Game Nights Live thing?
I did.
Was that sweet? I heard that was
insane.
Really cool.
They were Hollywood. Like that was a spectacle. It was amazing. The raucousness was, you could hear it half the tournament hall away, and it was at the World Expo Center, which is an enormous venue. The seats were packed. The excitement was there. People were previewing cards from this set, right? Like, so it was huge, and pageantry and excitement, and they did it all right. Like, Jimmy and Josh and all the rest, they're all performers, right? So it felt right to have them at this kind of event.
Yeah, no, I heard all good things about what they did for that event. My biggest concern with the fact that they're going to take this show on the road and do 3 or 4 of them again next year, similarly, is people are saying, there was not a lot of places to play. They were charging a lot of money just to get in and then charging a lot more money if you actually want to play and do things. So they were like saying this is a lot more akin to a Comic-Con than it is to a Magic event. My biggest concern is that they went all out with the game nights. I get that. But when I buy a top tier ticket to a Comic-Con event, they're very expensive. I can spend an entire weekend and do things the entire weekend without spending a ton more money. Whereas when you go to play Magic, that's not the case here. So you're paying that top tier price with a bunch of added expenses that Comic-Con doesn't have. There weren't a lot of panels. There weren't a lot of meet and greets and things like that you can go wait and get your like little token signed or whatever from famous people like you can at Comic-Con. So we have this huge Comic-Con expense without any of the stuff to do free of cost. Yep. So you end up spending a lot more than you would normally. They had the game nights, and I think that was awesome from what I did see of it off in the gameplay corner. They had big screens that we were able to see some of the stuff. They were wearing like wrestler outfits and then coming out. It was pretty crazy. But then that was kind of it. The rest of it is sell your Magic cards, buy more Magic cards, which you can do plenty of at Comic-Con as well. But then that's it. If you want to play anything, you either go sit outside, and some people did. They spent the entire weekend outside on the tables that are open to the public.
Right. Yeah.
And never use their badges at all.
Now, from being at home gave me a unique perspective on a few different things surrounding the Magic 30th Anniversary Edition. Specifically, first was the idea to give all of those with the most expensive badges of like, was it $800 or $900?
Like $750.
It's crazy. And so apparently that's 700 of these people. And that means they give them 4 packs each. So 2,100 packs went flying out the door to those who already had the means to buy the largest, most expensive package that was available. So Reuben, how you feel about that one, buddy?
I felt left out. Evan. I'm glad you asked.
It's a celebration.
I think I've been invited on this podcast for one reason, and that reason is to complain about this in particular. No, I would have preferred it if they'd spread the wealth a little bit instead of rich get richer style. I think that you put 2 packs in the Black Lotus packages, and then you put 1 pack in the Mox packages. Like I would have been happy with that. Or you just don't do this. Like it wasn't announced. This was like kind of a surprise, which I'm sure the Black Lotus people had a lovely surprise. And then, the rest of us in the proletariat are not as happy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it is a little silly and a bit of a bad look to give the people who could afford the $800 badge their money back. And nobody else got a surprise of any level, like, you know, packs or tokens or whatever.
Right.
So it wasn't even just Magic 30 boosters, but everybody else got what they paid for. And the richest got all of their money back and then some. The vendors at one point were buying the 4 packs for the full 1,000. Later on, it dropped down because they weren't for sale yet. You can't buy them, so the vendors wanted to get their hands on them. So they bought full retail value.
Full retail, wow. So
the people who got the VIP pass literally made money on the deal, paid for 2 nights of their hotel to boot. And I thought that was a little unfair. Now, I would prefer even the Pearl and Ruby badges to have been passed over for maybe giving 1 pack to everybody else who got a 3-day badge or 1 pack to everybody. I also can't speak too much because I luckily did get a little content creator swag bag and ended up with a few of the packs myself. But I didn't have the VIP pass and didn't get them in my bag either.
Right. And, you know, as much as they want the narrative of this is a celebration of Magic's 30th, blah, 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 and here's your $250 packs. Well, I'm pretty sure instead of giving, you know, those people 4, gave them 1 or gave every level 1 or something. Right. So everyone who showed up was able to get one of these packs.
Everybody 1 would have been great.
That would have been a big celebration.
Right. That would have been like, everyone's like, oh my God, I got one too. Did you get one? And then like everyone does the thing and suddenly everyone's got one. And it's a whole thing that gets people excited.
Now, in their slight defense, I think part of the like motive behind this, and a lot of people on social media and myself, I did the math days before we were able to buy these tickets. And I deemed that the difference between the Pearl and the VIP for double the price, it was not there. It gave you a slightly upgraded backpack and 1 extra collector booster. And like, that was kind of it. A few more promos. Like, it was really not... The value was not there. I think the people who bought it sort of just blindly was like, oh, this is the best thing. I want like early access to like my special line. And they valued that because they had the money. So I think there was a lot of hoopla about the package really not being worth it. So someone was probably like, oh, how can we kind of like juice this in value just a tad to make it worth it? And someone's like, hey, let's just throw these things in it. I think that's kind of what maybe happened as well. I mean,
I want to foster, I like the idea and the culture of if you attend one of these events, you could get a super cool surprise. This
Absolutely.
is just like Secret Lair, you know?
They are setting themselves up for expectation, though.
It's
like, if you're buying the Black Lotus package for Philly, and you don't get something of this value for free in it, right? Like, you're setting yourself up for failure. In my opinion. And
it's very unique in that these packs don't cost Wizards any more money to make. And so for them, the cost is not $250 a pack. It's way, 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 way lower. Yeah. And so spreading that around is not going to hurt their bottom line very much. Just like they gave out 2,100 packs and, you know, that was just a thing. So, you know, congrats to those who got it. I have no, you know, ill will towards them. They didn't do anything wrong. But I think in terms of what Wizards was doing, I think, you know, maybe the full implications weren't always thought of. Now, there was a second, you know, hubbub that you guys probably didn't even get in on or see or notice because y'all were at the event having a good time. But Olivia Gilbert Hicks and Brian Kibler made a little video that they showed during the stream. And I'll be honest, when I saw it on the stream, I'm like, okay, they're not actually going to put that on YouTube. And then I was like, oh my God, they put it on YouTube. And then, oh my God, they left the comments on. And it's like absolutely brutal how, like, you know, Brian and Olivia are trying to explain with this product and how it's a celebration, yada, yada, and how it's $999. And they're like, you know, Olivia, blink if, you know, if they're holding you hostage while they say the $999. And then there was a whole thing with Kibler talking about how he's, you know, a paid performance or whatever, and that's cool. But then it became, but it's totally okay to make this $1,000 product. And then here comes Pleasant Kenobi about like, hey, it's not cool making a $1,000 product for 60, like, say fake cards. And then here comes Flores with the Econ 101. And if they sold out, they didn't make enough or charge enough. And it was just like, it was a lot. It was a whole lot.
The vitriol directed at Magic 30th anniversary, I do not understand. I do not get the anger at this product. Really? No, I don't. I simply do not understand the anger at why people are mad about this. Haven't people been saying we want Black Lotuses and power in packs? Get rid of the reserved lists, right? Like, people have been saying that forever. And they did it, and now we're complaining about it? I don't get it.
And now
they didn't. We can't play with this. They didn't get rid of the reserve list. They didn't give us cards that we could play to get to play the formats people want to use.
Right. You can't play in the... Well, here's the thing. Constructed doesn't matter. And Wizards hasn't felt that constructed Magic has mattered very much at all. Like, they've mattered a little bit. Like, they've still put some money towards the organized play. I'm not saying they've stopped that. But by and large, the moves that they've all made have been like, we're here for the casuals, man. We're here for the commanders. We're supporting all the commander casts. We're putting our money in making commander things happen and cosplay things happen. And so, like, you know, and all those are the exact players who will never blink at these cards being used in decks. And that's the
mistake
wink,
was
wink, nudge,
this.
nudge. It's not, you know, they're proxies, y'all. They're not turning them illegal, but, you know, they're going to be worth money.
There were a couple of mistakes with this product. One of them is calling it Magic 30th Anniversary. They should have named a different product that. But the mistake is not the creation of this product. I think that this is a good product. Right. It just isn't for me.
Right. And, you know, there's certainly the people, like, when we talked about it at the very beginning, you know, they haven't just doing the company line when I'm trying to explain why they priced the product the way they did. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, it's just a weird thing. Now, if we pivot this into the real celebration of Magic 30th anniversary. This is the countdown kit, which also meant almost an entire hour of my life where I was stressed to hell about whether or not I got one. I still think I maybe kind of got one, but I'm not 100%. And until it really shows up at my door, I'm not really 100% I actually got one at this point because everyone was thrown into a mess. Wizards somehow bought Qt software that doesn't seem to work. They have a website that was reminding me 5 hours after I could barely order one that I had multiple sitting in my cart unpurchased. And I'm like, what? It was weird, man. It was weird.
Yeah, they let people check out with up to 30 of them, and there was only a handful available. They were, pre-printed, unlike all the other secret layers. It didn't say. Now, we knew on Magic Mike's, we talked about it, that they were limited print run and that we should, buy them. So, but there were several other places, as people have pointed out online, that they didn't say that, including the Secret Lair webpage on the Secret Lairs where they're print to demand. So a lot of people just didn't know. Mm-hmm. And then again, checking out with 30 is very much catering to the secondary market, fencer people, whatever they're called. And I think that was a really bad look for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
The scalper sort of situation that can arise, and I understand that Wizards, they're still making fine money on this product. And I also understand that on, in the real world, once everything's sold out, that they suddenly became twice as expensive. We almost have what you would describe as a Ticketmaster problem, where Ticketmaster is now charging thousands of dollars for Taylor Swift tickets because when they sold them for $500, they would immediately be resold by somebody else for $2,000. So why don't you just sell them for $2,000? To me, which Wizards is like, well, if this collector's edition is worth $24,000 and we're making another one, we should price it like it's the $24,000 product. And we're kind of seeing that over and over again.
Yeah. But, I mean, listen, Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I tried for 45 minutes after it was launched and I didn't get one, and I'm very sad.
Yeah, that's too bad. Wizards of the Coast has become more and more and more about the stockholders as opposed to the collectors. I think that everything we've talked about in the last 5-10 minutes has pointed in that direction. And I think a lot of it, a lot of the decisions that WotC makes is significantly higher percentage due to capitalism than more for growth rather than engendering stability. If that makes sense.
I want to bring up something that I read earlier today. I wish I had a link to it. I really do, because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And it has to do with something called a thermo line. Now, if you don't know what thermoline is, it's often used in oceanic temperature recordings and stuff because, as most people know, the top of the ocean is the warmest, and as you get down, it gets colder and colder and colder. Well, there's a point in the ocean where it goes from like cold, cold, cold to holy crap cold to like seriously cold, absolutely cold, and that's the thermoline. And he was attributing it to businesses, and he says, what you have in businesses, particularly software as a service, and he was likening it to Twitter, because Twitter's going through its own thing right now, which is you have a trust thermoline, which is once you pass the trust thermoline, your audience will disappear, and you'll be like, but they were okay this whole time with prices rising, with the things changing, and the stuff getting maybe a little worse or a little different. And sure, there were some complaints, but the whole time they were going along with it. And then all of a sudden they left. And it's because if you pass that trust thermoline, you're going to lose those people. And it doesn't matter. They're like, oh, we'll just put it back the way it was. Like it's too late.
I'm being told by chat there's a C in there.
Thermocline.
Thank you, Radian.
Thank you. So, so a thermocline. And ultimately, the idea that there's a threshold and you meet the threshold and bad things happen is basically saying that, this product is not going to sink Magic the Gathering. It's not. But it's made a lot of people really unhappy for a variety of reasons. And it's not in the best interest of Wizards of the Coast as a corporate brand entity who wants to make millions and millions in the future to really piss off like a whole ton of people over and over and then do it again and then do it again and then do it again, because eventually something like this may happen, but we'll see.
If I keep reading about the thermocline on Wikipedia, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. So
it's brilliant
pull
stuff.
Myself away.
Anyway, so let's move on here real fast to Desperate Ravings, where you guys can check out our altar sleeves. Support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altersleeves.com/magicmikes, like right there on the screen. This week, I want to talk real quickly about the countdown sales issues that we just talked about. I wanted to bring up, this was really interesting. The Wizards is bringing MTG Arena Golden Packs. Now, for a very long time, it didn't really make any sense whatsoever to buy and open packs on Arena. You should just go play Limited. It just makes more sense and you get prizes and yada, yada, yada. Well, now you have something called a Golden Pack. It's a 6-card pack, which all are rare or mythic from a standard legal set and have duplicate protection. At least 2 cards will be from the latest standard legal set, which is currently the Brothers War. And to get the golden packs, each Brothers War pack purchase from this store progresses your golden pack meter 1 step. The meter does not advance when packs are acquired through means other than pack purchases. And when all 10 steps of the meter are filled again, you bought 10 packs through 1,000 gold or whatever. It resets and a golden pack is added to your collection. So it's actually, and cool. I saw some people run the math, and NerdGirl, I know this is your thing, that it's actually pretty good to open packs now with something like this on top.
Yeah, I mean, so it's sort of like a Hearthstone pack in that it's guaranteed 1 mythic and then the 5 rares. And each rare has a chance to upgrade as well. So you could just spike a randomly like 4 mythic pack. Sure. My biggest concern with these products is, currently I think the only thing that they have announced so far is that this is for Brothers War packs specifically. It's not going to go back and be good for packs of older sets, even those standard legal ones. We're hoping they will. And then I'm hoping also that they will continue this trend of doing this. It only helps, like you were saying, constructed players, not limited players, because we don't get them for acquiring our packs through other means. But constructed players, if you only want constructed, they had it the worst, because I think it's the most expensive way to acquire the cards.
It is.
My concern is that they are not guaranteed Brothers War Rare and Mythics. So what's going to happen is for the constructed players who bought just enough packs to get the cards that they wanted and enough wild cards to craft the remainder of the things they wanted, they're now going to be getting duplicate protection for every standard legal set. It'll go back and craft all of the rare chaff in these golden packs that you didn't want, because you already have all the cards and rares that you want from the previous sets. Like, you've already crafted your Shieldreds, you've already crafted your mana base. That's it. We're looking for Brother War rares now. So these golden packs are largely going to be filled with everything else you didn't already want.
But on the counterpoint to that argument, for what it's worth, as a whale who likes to play constructed, I like my set collection being 100%. I like being able to fill out those old sets. And for example, I'm never in a million years going to go craft the rest of the Strixhaven Mythics. Those are all very multiplayer oriented cards. But if I were to randomly get one from this random golden pack, not saying that you can, but you know what I'm saying, just work with me here. The idea that I can get cards that I don't care about, I'm okay with that. As long as I'm able to also get rares that I'm looking for from the new sets.
Yeah.
But that's more of an OCD thing and less of a value thing. I also want to fill up my meter.
Oh, it's definitely not
and I want to collect them all. And when they did those meters, I went back and crafted a few random things to like do the thing. But like from a collection standpoint, if you're buying packs to play the game, I don't think that this is the product that's going to turn that like breaking point and make things a lot cheaper for you.
Yeah, maybe not make it a lot cheaper, but at least give you some value, right? This is like when they came up with the mythic packs that guaranteed to have a mythic rare or mythic, wildcard rare or whatever in them. I thought that was brilliant. Can we go back and do that for the rest, please? Can we do that for like Aether Revolt? Because there's a bunch of stupid mythics in Aether Revolt I would like to get without having to go through a bunch of random rares that I don't want at this point. Like weird little sets like that, Rivals of Ixalan. Like I could go for a few of those mythics I'm looking for and not everything else.
At the end of the day, it was just added to it. They didn't increase the price of the packs, so it's good.
Exactly.
It's good news, but it's just not like...
It's, look,
they're
even though this
adding something, they're giving us something for free.
Yeah, even this is Desperate Ravens. Wizards is literally changing the Magic Arena economy for the better, and that has to be noteworthy.
They're giving you a little bit extra.
Little something.
Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts.
There you go. All right. Let's turn the corner here to the finisher. We're in the heyday of Magic events. Well, at least compared to the last few years. With Magic Summit this weekend and Magic 30 in the recent re-review, we have a lot of fun MTG things to do. So if you were to organize a Magic event in the near future, what newfangled features would you bring to the venture, Reuben?
Is Summit this weekend? I may have written this joke wrong.
It might be in a couple weekends, but what do you want?
2 weekends?
Next weekend.
It's 2
the weekend
weekends,
after this one.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so next weekend.
But nobody would have noticed, Reuben. Nobody would have noticed.
I know. Whatever. Now I'm going to read my joke that I wrote.
Good job.
Magic 30 had some very cool stuff, but one thing it did not have is a Grand Prix. And so I'd bring in an open tournament for the world's most popular card game at the next Magic Fest with a Marvel Snap GP.
We did it. We solved it, everybody. NerdGirl?
All right. Well, the World Championship has Twitch integration, and the Whatnot booth had a TikTok integration. But what about a YouTube integration? Which is my plan for the future Magic Fest, is to have a YouTube stage featuring not only live commentators, but also live commenters for a truly unhinged internet vibe.
Like they're off to the side, you can't see their faces or nothing, and they're just like yelling the worst, most disgusting
YouTube
crap.
comments are terrible.
I would just shout first.
You suck! First! Live panels, interviews, and guests. It's great and all right, but what about that MTG movie we keep hearing about? So for my Magic Fest, we're going to be filming a scene full of event attendees as background extras for the major motion picture event of the summer, who of course will be in line for the Hasbro Pulse merch booth, and as a result, we'll all be playing shambling zombies. As you wait.
Yeah, it's what it feels like when you're in the corrals.
And wait. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, NerdGirl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Reuben.
It's good to be back. We will not be here on this show next week.
We'll be streaming the preview event for the Brothers War.
That's
so we'll
right.
be streaming multiple hours throughout the day. Come hang out as you can. So we're going to move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, my co-hosts, MTGNerdGirl and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week. Same time, well, a week after that. Join us here in 2 weeks. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.